There we go. We are live. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another not really entirely Friday stream. Turned out to be Saturday to help us be able to cope a little bit in terms of time zone and location that fitted our two new guests a lot better. So first off, myself, for anyone that hasn't been watching any of the live streams, my name is Jens. I'm working here as lead game designer on Eco. And as you can tell, we have, like I mentioned, we've got two new faces and guests that you have not seen here before. And I want to heartily welcome Leonard here, our audio director on Eco.
Hello.
Yeah. I think do you want to go over kind of what you
Oh yeah, I got lots to say. So, yeah, I've been working with Strange Loop Games for a long time. I originally worked on their Vessel title, which was PlayStation 3 launch, I think. That one was exciting. I was also audio lead on that one. That one I did. There was similar actually to Eco. I didn't do music on that one, although I am a composer. We worked with John Hopkins, another composer. I did the music design for that and all the sound design for that game. And then I also worked on a game called SimCell with Strange Loop. And then most recently, Eco. So yeah, audio director just means that I get to tell everybody else working on audio what to do, which is nearly nobody, because this is a small title. So it's I sort of consider Eco to be a AAA indie game. We have a good number of developers working on it, and of course a great community supporting us too. And so with Eco, we wanted to really dial in the music from what we had, because I took over from, there was a person doing audio before me for I think a year or so. And when I inherited the project, we really wanted to up the level of music. And so I also teach game audio at the School of Video Game Audio for the past 10 years or so. And one of my awesome students was Phil. And so we basically just got started chatting. And yeah, I brought him in, and he's been doing some great work. And I guess, that's sort of a very quick introduction. As far as myself, I've been doing game audio since the mid-90s, and yeah, I teach game audio and I do composition for games. Most recently Counter-Strike, which was pretty fun to work on. I want to do some stuff for Eco, and I am very happy to be able to join the stream. Yeah, it's fun, and thanks for accommodating us, because it's tricky to get like three people's schedules to align. So yeah, I guess back to you.
Yeah, thank you. That was an amazing introduction, and I hope everyone is thrilled to see you participate here as well. It's a rarity to kind of get everyone in and around the project to be involved in the streams as well. But yeah, so with that, Phil, do you want to take it away?
Yeah, sounds good. Can everyone hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, okay. Yeah, so I'm Phil Alany. I'm a composer and a guitarist. I live in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and I've been working on Eco on and off, I guess, for about 3 years. I studied with Leonard at his School of Video Game Audio, and he reached out to me about writing some music for Eco, and so I'm super excited to be working on it. And so I guess today we'll be talking about a few new tracks that I wrote for the game, and let's see, what else can I tell you? I guess that's pretty much it from my end.
Yeah. So we've got Leonard who's telling everyone what to do with the audio, and then you got Phil that is creating the audio and kind of composing it and making sure that it's sounding all right, getting a pass from Leonard, and then it hits and gets implemented into the game. And it's not necessarily just audio, music per se in terms of Leonard's responsibilities, but he's also the one kind of directing and checking with all of the other surrounding ambient effects like footsteps and just anything that you hear, basically. So yeah, no, we've got a very kind of casual technical stream, I guess you could call it. We've got a couple of pre-recordings from the 2 different audio tool sets that we're working on with Eco. That I think we can kind of just switch over and kind of start going over these. Just arrange stuff around here.
Yeah.
Got the application and that, and then there we go. That should be. Hoping everyone can see it. First recording isn't super high crisp, so there's a little bit of fuzziness going on. Apologize for that, but Max, what can you do? Different.
But the audio is so good.
It's all about the audio.
It's all about the audio.
It's all about the audio. I guess I just play and.
Sure. Yeah, I can introduce this a little bit. So this track is for pollution. For when you build up the city and you're starting to get. So that was the prompt, pollution. So I tried to create textures and harmonies that give that vibe, and I guess you can just kick it off and I'll talk through it. There's some recurring themes that you hear throughout all the songs. So let's see. And are you guys hearing that audio?
Not yet.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not hearing it either.
Let me do this quickly. I think the stream is hearing it fine, but
okay, that's good.
I think
there we go.
Awesome.
Now I'm hearing
it's just a fade in. Yeah, awesome.
There we go. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So here's the first part where you can hear that's kind of a recurring theme throughout several of the songs in the game, but twisted a bit to fit the harmonies we have here. And one of the things exciting about the new tracks is I've made some upgrades to my sound libraries in general, so there's much better marimba sounds and upright bass sounds. And you'll notice this one's a little more dense and a little more complex than the other songs. So this was one where Leonard gave me he told me to just go crazy. So you can hear some more of my jazz influence in this one.
Yeah, it's just it feels so eco. Just with everything else kind of working in it.
Great,
and,
yeah.
And it's
I tried to make it feel good with this one's also strange in that there's lots of different time signatures happening. It's kind of switching back and forth between 7/8 and 4/4.
And as we're kind of going through a lot of these audio things, chat in any source, just let us know if there's any, if the music volume is a bit too loud versus our chatter, so we don't go overboard on one or the other.
Yeah, and then here we'll kind of break it down into sections. We export the music in layers so that it can be implemented in the game in different ways. So, is it still going there?
I paused it temporarily.
Oh yeah, you can let it go. So first, we're gonna kind of show off this percussion layer. So we'll mute everything else so you can. There we go. Yeah.
Nice.
And so this is all stuff that I hammered out on the keyboard here. Like I didn't use any loops or anything. It's all kind of just jamming and going with the flow. And this is the bed layer. This is kind of the core of the song. And then we've got this harmony layer where you get all these spooky sounds. We got some bass clarinets there, and along with that eerie synth. So this is what really gives that pollution feel to me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And then here in the melody layer, the melody has some interesting textures. I kind of started with this spacey piano here. And then, let's see. Yeah, I've also got this guzheng. I'm not sure exactly how you say that. Mm-hmm. It's a really cool instrument though. And then layering that with some banjo and some English horn. So it's very like all over the world. Like there's like an instrument from like every continent there.
That's a very
nice.
A little vibraphone in there.
That's a 7/8 vibe to it.
Yeah, and then when it all comes together, you know, and then it's up to Leonard to kind of mix those in the game, and you know, sometimes it's neat to only have like the harmony layer going, or only having the percussion going, or it's just the percussion and the harmony. Yeah, and so that's pretty much it. And that's how most of the songs are working. You know, they're kind of broken into those 4 layers. You got the percussion and the kind of the core of it, and then harmony and melody. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Just gonna switch over here for a second here. So I think, like, in general, when it comes to like composing things digitally, they are like, I think a lot of older gamer community is probably familiar with the layout in some way, shape, or form. I know we had a massive surge of a lot of these tools coming out in like the early 2000s, where everyone was kind of poking and plonking away at it, and it was a lot of fun. But it's generally working the same way as it's always done. But it's just technically more advanced and allows more options and kind of do more stuff with it. But fundamentally it's the same.
Yeah, I'd say so. And these virtual instruments have come a really long way. Like the marimba sounds that are available now, you know, are just incredible. And you know, I would love to do this all, like, you know, in the recording studio with live instruments, but for some projects it's not possible to do that. So
yeah, no,
it's really cool to have such great sounding virtual instruments.
Yeah, it's coming together quite nicely, and I really love the fact that all of these are kind of they're giving tones of similarity between the soundtracks, but they're all very cohesive, even though they might be very different in terms of their composition, which is really nicely done.
No, that's nice, because we've spent a lot of time on that. You know, if you were to see the email thread between Phil and I, it's like
yeah,
it's nuts. It's getting to the point exactly with Gmail where it's actually like when we start an email, it's scrolled almost all the way over to the side. So yeah, as far as the way that the music's put together, I mean, you know, Phil is he's a guitarist, you know, primarily, but then also like all the stuff being played in, you know, as you can see, using his keyboard there, it gives a really, you know, it's not programmed in, like as far as like placing the notes and stuff, which is a lot of what I do when I'm working. Anyways, so it's nice to hear a lot of that just organic sort of texture that Phil's able to add, and just the amount of technical dexterity on, like, a lot of the songs have him playing guitar in it as well, which I just love. So if there's any excuse to try and cram more stringed instruments in there, I try to do that. So
yeah, no, I think
and some of the new tracks have like live guitar on there as well. This one in particular was done all on the keyboard, but yeah, so there's a good mix of live instruments and virtual instruments in some of the new songs. So
Yeah, I like it. It's really, really nice, and I know a lot of it's. I don't think I've seen a negative comment on outside of like, why isn't there more? I think it's the only the only
Nice.
negative one.
nice, yeah.
So we've
Yeah.
gone over some of the stuff that, you know, how you're working and kind of what it's looking like from you in terms of digitally composing it. So what we're seeing right now is where kind of Leonard takes over and gets this kind of organized. So I don't know. Do you want to? So this is Bevice, which is
No, not Wise. It's just
well,
Wise.
it's just Wise.
It's just called Wise.
I'm going with Bevice because there's two W's on it. But you know, if
I
they didn't
know.
want to name it Bevice, then they should have removed one.
No, it's a joke within the community. It's because it's like it's an acronym, and they named it years ago, and yeah, it is it's highly problematic that they call it Wise. It's kind of like, you know, Worcestershire sauce being called Worcester sauce, where you just skip over a bunch of letters. This is like, okay. So yeah, just saying that, you know, this is sort of where, as far as in my process, I do the technical audio stuff. So this is also known as music design these days. So I take the composition from Phil, you know, basically he's done, and he has stemmed it out into those, you know, different layers. What we've decided on is 4 different layers, one being the bed. Then you can see harmony there is in yellow, well, once we get to the stream. And then there's a melody layer and percussion layer. And then that allows me to basically use the game to dynamically mix those sort of layers as the gameplay changes. So if there's more pollution, we can add more percussion, say. And so yeah, anyways, we can just, I guess, basically roll into the clip here and see how that works for me, basically doing the technical side of things. So it's still somewhat creative, but it's I'm not composing here. I'm taking his stuff and basically arranging it so that it dynamically fits the actions in the game.
Yeah. So just to clarify on Wise being the integration part of it, it's basically a module plugin that works for any of the major game engines, be it Unity or Unreal or whichever. It's kind of a bridge between audio that's been created to audio that's played in the game.
Exactly.
Yeah, take it away.
Cool. All right. Well, yeah. So this is showing how Phil's track Pollution actually gets placed into Wise. And so in that little window, I scrolled past all the sound effects, and I get to the music, which is the important part that we'll be looking at for this first chunk. And right now, the tracks, depending on the vibe, they play in different parts of the day. So this is sort of currently the full mix for Pollution is set for sunrise. Nothing like the smell of pollution in the morning. So, so there's the event for the music. That's the thing that actually gets called by the game, and then it plays it like this. And so the music starts out, and then I've basically used an RTPC, which is basically like a parameter that allows me to modulate the mix levels between all 4 of those, depending on just one parameter. So instead of having 4 sliders, I can use 1 and sort of use this test music parameter to slide between different mixes. So, you know, right now I'm sort of at 50%, going down to like, you know, sort of a thinner mix. And then I'll show you how the RTPCs are sort of mapped. So you hear the percussion came in more there as I ramped it up to back to 100, right? So if we look at the parameter, the real-time parameter control, and this is changing the voice volume, and this one happens to be for the percussion because that's what I've selected. And see, it just ramps up. So the higher the test music is, that value is, the more percussion we get. And it's like that simple. It's just the way that it's being demonstrated for now. Obviously, it can get a lot more complex, but, you know, a lot of the times that's what you want. Yeah. So more action, more intensity, you know, more percussion, right? And if I scroll down a little bit more here, I've sort of got a spot where I took out part of the, actually the harmony. See where there's a dip there? So the harmony is gone right now. And then I can ramp it back in, right? So that we can hear that layer again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting for you to hear this, hey, Phil?
Nice. Yeah. Well, I remember from taking your class, like, how complicated this thing is.
Yeah.
To use is wise.
Yeah. But that's the idea, is to try to, basically translate something that's sort of emotive, like, a parameter, like the feeling of intensity of that parameter, to an actual change in the music. And then here, I can solo things out, the same thing that, Phil was doing before. I can bring in the melody. That's the melody line. That's that, remember that piano sound? Now I've got that, sort of like, I guess it's sort of like I don't know what you would call that. That was the creepy layer, I think. That was in the, that was in the harmony. And then when I bring them all back in, that's right at the end of the song. So, that's just fading out there. So yeah, that's how things basically get translated from what Phil does, the very creative side, and he gives me those 4 layers, and then I can play with those in the game and have those react dynamically. So. So now we're looking at some sound effects. This one I like because it's using synthesis within Wise. You can actually generate stuff, randomly. So I'm using a synthesizer to basically just play back random tones. So that, it's called a sample and hold function.
That's what my computer sounds like.
Exactly. Yeah. So when you're using the lasers at the end to like fire down the asteroid or a meteor, sorry, I think it's a meteor. It's meteor, right? Then yeah, exactly. I always get those two confused. Then it, that's the sound that the computers make, that the guidance system for the lasers. And so here's the layer. Same thing. You can see that RTPC, that little line, right? And where next to the base frequency, there's an RTPC. So that means that I can basically change those values as well. So, we had the original sound that you heard, but I can also make it so that if I wanted to change the sort of, as the guidance systems are actually like, zooming in and like about to like roast the meteor, then I could actually like ramp it up. I haven't done that in the game yet. I was very happy just to get it working, but you can hear that's sort of the, that's the original version of it, right? I can make it louder if I want, not super interesting. But I think more interesting is being able to change the frequency at which the tones change. So I think that's what I'm going to try to do next here. I have to bring in a different RTPC. So yeah, that was the output level. There's the sound. And now, there it is, base frequency. So now I can change the, right? So there you go.
Nice.
And I can make it faster or slower, right? So it just shows you that you can do really flexible sound designs using synthesis within Wise. There's not necessarily as many opportunities for that within Eco because it's more of a naturalistic game, but say for more sci-fi, and that's the whole sound of like, there's the tape machines whirring around, and then also with the boop boop boop. And here we are. I wanted to show you, this is the stamping machine. And with this, I combined a whole bunch of sounds that are synchronized to the animation of the machine. So every time one of those frames is hit, it'll actually play a different sound queued up in Wise. So this, I really like the vibe of this.
Yeah. So when you're looking at a machine like this, it really kind of kicks out and really amplifies.
It really brings it to life.
It really just adds and strengthens that ambience, and you feel that you're in the world. You see these things happening, and you see an audio reflection on it.
Exactly, because it's not a loop. And here's the animation points. And so those little points, the set anim events, are actually sending events out to Wise at each
Oh
of
wow.
those frames. And so each of those frames will actually trigger randomly a set of like 5 different or so, variations, so that every time it does that sound, similar to a machine, it would be slightly different. So this is the reason why you can sit next to some of the machines. I'm still working on it. You can see this is like a lot of work because we have
A lot of
I
machines.
don't know, a lot of machines. And so like this one I was particularly happy with, but this is the level of detail I got to go to. So if I look in, there's the electric stamping press, and then here's the,
You see these
that's one
different
sound.
animation events here in
Wow.
that list.
Exactly.
my
Yeah.
gosh.
So each one of those is separate, and they have separate variations, and they also randomize pitch and volume. And so I actually recorded a garbage truck for that sound. I was like running next to the garbage truck, and because it's got this robot arm that picks up the garbage, yeah. And that was a sound that I got from printing press. Yeah. Yeah. So that's another garbage truck sound, the psh, right? So I've recorded a lot of sounds for this game. I've tried to do almost all the sounds from original recordings, and so yeah, it's
And it's also super powerful because since the events are kicking out regardless of the speed, meaning that we can change the animation speed or the interactability of the animation, and the audio doesn't need to be adjusted because it automatically adjusts to that frequent speeds
yeah,
kind of going through.
exactly. And that was the background loop there. It's just so that's what all the sounds play on top of. So it creates this whole sort of soundscape. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And you can tune the animations, and the audio will automatically be in sync. And then like I'm just scrolling down. I just wanted to show at the end, like there is like a crap ton of sounds in this game. I didn't actually maybe I'll look that up on my computer, but I'm gonna say probably like in the order of thousands of sounds that are for eco. There's a dirt walk sound, and like I'm still like up at the top of like all the, and these are not even individual sounds. Some of these have like more than one thing in them too. So I'm just still in the footsteps. And actually that's one thing that's going to be new that I guess will come out with version 10 is the idea of wetlands. And so looking forward to making squishy like sort of footsteps as well, so that'll get that'll get added to the existing footsteps. So yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, and here's this one I want to talk about. So this one, the agouti, what I did is I actually performed the sound of the agouti by pitching down a recording of an agouti into a range that I could perform, and then I practiced that, and then I recorded it like using that lower octave, and then I pitched it back up again. This is the wolf howl. Those ones are library sounds. That's not me doing a wolf howl.
You didn't go up to a real jaguar.
No, squeeze a jaguar.
Yeah.
Come on, buddy. I need you for eco. Give it up. So here's the agouti sound. Yeah, when we get to it. So this I want to do to all the animal, like the animals that it's appropriate for, is to actually make like little movement sounds and stuff like that. So they actually, this is their idle sound. So that's, let me see here, and come on, agouti. Yeah. There we go. See, and it's got a little bit of reverb on there just because it's got a forest reverb on it. So that's me actually doing the agouti sound. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun. That I sort of learned that trick from people that were doing bird songs by whistling. So, yeah. So you can see there's so many like this is when you sit down. There's like 10 different squeaks when you sit down into like a random vehicle, and then finally we get past the sound effects and we get back into the music. And so here's some of the other examples of the musics that are there. And I think we're getting pretty close to the end of that presentation. Oh, I know. I was trying to find, so here's another track called Desert. I don't think I play this one. I think I go back to the pollution one here. So, yeah. but we're getting a lot of music in, and yes, thanks Phil for being available because it's one thing to be working on the title. There it is. So we'll just conclude with, this is the way that sort of the sound effects and music get put together for Eco. And yeah, we're really looking forward to the next release, having all, basically we've got was it 3 or 4 new tracks? It's 3 new tracks, let's say 3, that are
I think it's 4.
yeah. I think we were able to
Pollution,
sneak
rain.
we were
Yeah.
able-
So it's
able
probably
to
3,
sneak another one
but
in
let's
there.
say 4, just because I think it's 4.
Yeah.
Hopefully, maybe, perhaps.
Yeah. So yeah. Anyways, we can tail out there, and yeah, it's gonna be fun. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's looking great. It's
Cheers.
it's like the whole, generally the whole system, and just making that architecture work and getting that improvement to be able to extract all these sound events and kind of or callbacks to the sound events, and then you can keep adding more stuff to the workbenches, and it'll feel more alive when you're walking into it, and it just feels more alive. I don't know, not really a whole lot more to kind of elaborate on it. It's really, if you're looking at I don't know if a lot of people have seen, just kind of as a reference, if you've seen pre-production series episodes and movies and whatnot before they kind of plug in the overlay and audio on top of it, it's like a whole different scene, because it feels really bland and really stale, and then you add that background noise and stutter and effects and things happening in the background, and it's suddenly a whole different scene. And we can see this with Eco really on depth. Like, we have, even if you're running around and you have this amazing ambience, like background music going on as you're walking around, you come into a big workshop and you don't really hear anything. Like, you can hear maybe something chomping in the background, but like, you have 6-7 really big machinery, and you see these are working, and they're pressing plates, and they're screwing things, and they're messing around, and you just don't have an audio feedback from what you're visually seeing. Makes it feel very bland, very stale and boring, if you will. And then you see this with the stamping press, for instance, where it just brought it to life. Like, you feel like you're in a workshop. You feel that this is happening, and you're building these things and assembling these things, and you have that noise coming in and kind of influencing you with that additional sense.
Yeah, it is because with computer graphics, it's hard to convey weight, and audio is really good for that. One of the things that I was a while ago when I was working on Eco, that I'm doing the sound effects and stuff like that, so I like the sound effects, and I also don't want to overuse the music. But on the team, we had so many people that loved the music so much that they wanted to hear it more and more. So I basically took, the frequency at which how often the music plays, without breaks, and I doubled it up, because with the team, they're just like, we got to hear more music. We got to hear more music. And I'm like, okay, turn up the music. And hopefully, because it's a real balance of like not getting annoyed by, both the sound design and the music. Audio it's a really tricky balance to do that. And one of the things when that was happening is that one of the designers was just like, oh yeah, there's this great song, and yeah, here it is, and he played it, and I was just like, oh no, that's a bug. Like, it was only playing one of the very strange layers out of the music, and he was just like, no, you can't fix that bug. And I was like, okay, fine. So what I did is I made a special track, like a special mix that doesn't play very often, but it still plays in the game, so that I could say like, no, it's it's still in there. So yeah, while working on it, it's very cool to get feedback from the team and hear sort of the reactions to the music and how that really influences the game, obviously along with the sound design. But it is awesome to be part of the team, and yeah, also hear a lot of feedback from the community as well, reflected through the team. I also look at the Discord from time to time, And that is one thing that's very interesting when working on Eco, is that it's sort of like an open door kind of vibe, is that, you know, you're working on a game, flying the plane in the air and working on it at the same time. So it is interesting to be trying to put out stuff, like, especially when it's like, you know, so much sound design, you know, and trying to polish it enough for each release so that it's just like, yeah, no, it's there and it sounds good enough, and we'll continue to polish things when we have time. So it's a very interesting process, that one.
Yeah, no, I think it's been going really, really great, and yeah, we'll keep going through it and keep improving and add more stuff as we move the project along. I know we haven't. There's a couple of things that we haven't really shown off. As Leonard was mentioning, with like squishy noises and things like that. I don't know if I wanna go over some of the new visuals as well. Maybe we can sneak this in here.
Yeah, they're so good. Like when I saw that on the meeting, I was just like, "Oh man, that is really impressive." And I guess as well, there's no questions just yet from
No,
chat, I suppose.
I think there are a couple that was wondering about playtest stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Other than that, it's just nice comments on audio things, and
Aw.
earlier commenting that this is the first time I've seen this kind of modern sound design and integration. As only seen the old school SFX collecting in some back room somewhere, but this type of interfacing is allowing so much more freedom and options.
Yeah, and it's there's always more to do, but I also, because I teach game audio, is that I also try to, you know, just always make sure that, you know, when Phil and I are working on stuff, to make sure that it really underlines the emotional, it supports the underscoring of the game, to make sure that, you know, we're not just, you know, doing tweaky stuff. Although in the pollution track, musically, there's a bunch of tweaky stuff going there, which I love. So we do squeeze it in when we can, but I'm just saying, on the technical side, you know, there has to be a reason, I think, you know, to add stuff, not just for like technical stuff. I mean, yes, I did squeeze in the computery type sound thing, but yeah, the idea at any given moment is to support the needs of the game, and to really support the players so that they don't get annoyed. And I will say, yeah, it's very hard when you have, like you were saying, Jens, like a room full of machinery, for it not to sound annoying. Like, it's just it has taken me a lot of time to tune the sounds so that they're sort of pleasing, like, you know. And that's a core part of the game, is that, you know, with the progression, that you gain more capacity of creating different you know, crafting, you know, machines and stuff like that. You're able to make new things, that the audio also supports that too. Oh man, here we go. All right, so
It looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Transition.
Oh, there's even a little deer there.
So we'll sneak peek a little bit on. So this is live on, or what will be the next playtest for White Tiger. Toby will probably chew me out a little bit. We're showing this a little bit earlier than he kind of wanted some of it to be a bit of a shock surprise, but I think I think it's relative to what we were talking about in terms of audio. That will kind of go over a little bit of it, just kind of like sneak by it. So as you can see here, we've done some continued polish and just like tweaks to textures and how they're interfacing, and kind of the visuals and the blooms and kind of all of the general effects to it. And with that, there's been like, all of this is still a work in progress. Toby is still tweaking it together with Geo, just kind of poking and fixing around all of the different shader magic around, and some of the new structural things. And I also have a helper here in my lap right now. She's
Meow.
Yeah, wants to participate here as well. I'm gonna switch over to daylight maybe. So
Yeah.
so this is some of the changes that are being done to the wetlands, and as Leonard was saying, this is, you are getting a much more kind of wet, gritty, mushy feeling to it. There's still a couple of tweaks and polishes to kind of really get it right, but it is adding a layer of kind of wetness to it, and we're looking from an audio perspective of a bit of tweaks to those old kind of step audios and making sure that each biome has their own kind of unique feel to them when you're walking around and
Yeah, and I
trudging
want to
along.
do a huge pass on all the animals too, because I've sort of tried to tune it so that when the animals are around you, that you have an idea of their direction and whatnot. But the combinatorics of like the different sizes of animals, how they move, and then what material they're on is just, it's going to take me a while. So just please give me a bit of time to do that. And same thing for the player as well. That we, those footsteps that we have are the from years ago. And the main thing is that I just wanted to do one pass, and that same thing will still take a while.
Yeah, right now it's not sure if you can hear it completely, but it's, you kind of have like a crisp gravel kind of sound in the wetlands at the moment, which hopefully be a bit more mushy and just gives you that heightened sense of where you are in the world, rather than just
Can you also trigger the rain too? Because that's something that that was a basically like the weather stuff is another thing that Phil was working on as far as the music. I think that there's a command for changing the weather, isn't there?
Yeah, I don't know if this is actually working in the current version of it. So
Okay.
if we set this to clear, and let me do heavy.
Sorry to throw that at you.
No, so we have been experimenting a bit. It does come in here in one of the chats that some type of weather system would be nice, and it is something that we have been looking at in terms of actually visual. Yeah, it is working. It's just not as fast as I wanted it to be.
Yeah.
So this is something that we're kind of tweaking and looking at in terms of just heightening that ambience level, and also looking at sort of how we want to interact and how we want to implement it in terms of how is this going to be working when you transition between biomes that's inside the same type of elementary kind of distance. Like you can walk into something that's an actual desert, but it's like the moisture level ranges and like the greenery around you might not be entirely a desert. So we don't necessarily want something that just flips back and forth between biomes just because you're passing over a tile. And like pulling on references of similar like the escapades in terms of games doing ambient weathers and so on. I usually look at like things like Icarus, for instance, that is doing a stellar job, as well as Iron Gates with Valheim and so on. That they're doing these really really amazing transitions from calm clear weather over into really murky storms and eerie kind of ambient feelings to them.
Yeah.
Where in Icarus, I can feel that it's a little bit overbearing when you walk from a grassland area to a winter landscape, and it just flips a switch basically.
Yeah.
So from a game design perspective, it is kind of tricky in terms of where do we pull the lines and where do we want to do that, or do we want to just add like a transition timer over, like you walked into the new biome but the old weather is kind of hinging after you, but then it would look kind of weird if you're walking from a snowy peak and you have this gusting wind around you and then the blizzard going on, and then you jump down a cliff into a desert and then you have that snowstorm kind of following you into the desert.
Yeah, right.
So there's a lot of key elements that we kind of need to get done correctly before we actually introduce this into a live branch. But it is visually progressing quite nicely.
Yeah, no, thanks for showing that. That's great because that's something, as far as the music side, that is really good. The vibe is great to, like what is kind of like a wet, sort of damp kind of vibe that we can change with the music. And so there's things that we can change, like either filtering stuff or bringing in different layers. But yeah, that's something that we've been looking at a little bit with some of the tracks anyways. But this, because they say on the side of the pollution side of things, we didn't change things super quick, but it just shows here, at least with the rain, that it just changes the vibe of things when you see the visuals change like that. And we want to echo that with the music side as well. I guess something that we should talk about is soundtrack, right? So yeah, I'll just sort of dive into it and say that we are looking at doing a soundtrack release soon. Hopefully, it'll be around version 10-ish, and that'll have all the tracks that we currently have in the game, and then there'll also be like sort of alternate mixes as well, because some people, like I was saying before, they got very used to hearing like different mixes, from the stems that we're playing in the game. But like I told Phil, like I will bounce them past you, of course, just from a creative standpoint, because if you're like, yeah,
You're not gonna make it a house remix with
a no, exactly.
No,
so yeah, we just want to make sure. And that was part of the thing with the music design side of it, is that, that's the reason why there's a bed, is that, the idea is that the bed is always playing, and then those other three layers always play over top. So as far as the soundtrack, we would strip it at most, say, back to the bed layer probably. But it would be, we'll see how many tracks are in there. And I think the idea would be to sell on Steam, and then also do a similar way to download it on Bandcamp as well. And then, depending on how we work with the team, it would also possibly be available as part of a bundle with the game. So you get the game and the soundtrack, and probably at a at a reduced cost. But we need to synchronize with the team on that, because the way that Phil is working with us as a composer is that he's retaining rights to his work, which is good. But it also means that then we just need to figure out with the team the best way of marketing the two things together, so that the soundtrack release and the game really work well together, as far as purchases that the folks out there can do for all things eco, including plushies and whatever else is in the mix for Strange Loop. So I just wanted to throw that out there. I don't know when we'll have it available just yet, but yeah, it is in the mix, as they say.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of things that are coming and a lot of things that are evolving, and we're trying to get as much information out as possible when we have more definitive set dates for things, and working out the logistics on our end as well, and kind of everyone being in agreement and so on. So I mean, we're almost coming up on an hour here. It's been quicker than you might think. Like I said, time just flies. It's going crazy. Talking about ambience and immersion, is there any ideas in regards to sound being muffled when in adjacency and closed off rooms? I know radiuses and kind of structural limitations and kind of dynamic audio in that sense is really tricky, and it gets really messy really quickly.
Yeah, so that is definitely possible, but yeah, we would need to basically do a raycasting, so figuring out from the player, sort of it puts out these imaginary like lines, and we could find out when you're in an enclosure. And we have been working on the reverb kind of system for a while, but quite honestly, we've had a little bit of motion on the audio programmer side of things, so we're looking for a little bit of, it has gone down in our list of priorities. But yes, it would make a lot of sense to have things like, the scene that we're looking at, having, where if you shout out, you could hear the reflection, like, off the, the opposing bank and stuff like that. That would be really nice. But that is more of that's a more long-term goal. It's a good question, though.
Yeah. Don't think we have any other general. There's some general technical questions.
Oh, okay, I was gonna ask if that new music for the rain has been integrated yet.
I don't.
I'm not.
I don't think it's been plugged in yet.
Okay.
Or actually, hang on. I think
it has not. It hasn't.
Okay.
No.
And part of the reason for that is that Toby was working on stuff, and he was just like, "Oh, hey, do this thing," and then he's been working on other things. So I'm kind of like, okay, well, I'll just leave it here. So because I need a programmer hookup to basically send me an RTPC on the amount of rain that's falling, and then
okay.
Yeah, from that, then I know that the rain is falling. Otherwise, currently, I know time of day. I know, like, sort of, the amount of progression that when machines are producing things, like crafting things, then I know that. But yeah, as far as the rain, that's on the list of things to do. One of the things that I also want to really get done is when you're close to the ocean, that the sound, from the ocean happens, and that was in a previous build, but it got broken because of the way that the data structures of the way that the game is put together got changed. So yeah, a lot of it is where we have been working on the technical side to try to get that kind of help from coding, and there's a lot of other priorities. So yeah, we've got a few things sort of like in the pocket with audio and music. So yeah, we will get there.
Yeah, and audio has a tendency to kind of get the short stick
Yes.
in some of these situations where like things where the playtest are exploding and needing critical fixes, then suddenly audio issues for stuff that we're working on for the future kind of gets deprioritized. Which makes a very sad Leonard, and then we don't get new audio.
I know.
But no, it's as we're progressing and as we're adding these things, we'll also keep polishing audio, and that should be sounding good and keep sounding good.
Yeah.
I remember
Cool.
when people were like, "Stop fishing, we can hear you." Yeah, we had a
Yes.
bit of a global fishing issue.
That wasn't me. That wasn't me. That was coding.
That was entirely on some of the other guys' desk. Leonard was completely free of fault on that one.
No, I know the worst one, I think, was the one where, because that was a general sort of server bug where sounds were just playing in people's heads. So for me, the worst one was with chewing. So someone else is like chewing and like, and you could hear everybody like in your head. It was nuts.
The global eating problem. No, I think you mentioned in terms of like balancing audio, especially for like machinery and like natural sounds in terms of nature's sound, if that makes sense. Feels like they're easier to scale and so on. And we've seen some issues with mechanical sounds that we really struggle with in terms of repetitiveness. Back early 9.2, 9.3 somewhere, where we had like the machinist, like the basic machinist table was just like winning and whizzing on like crazy. That were kind of tuned and tweaked to better fit in terms of the ambience around with all the other machinery. And stuff like that we really appreciate if you also post like bug reports not necessarily bug reports, but if you have, you know, specific audio issues, or that may not necessarily be an, you know, an outright this is broken in the game, but more of a this is really, really frustrating for me, or this is really, really annoying for me to hear, you know, repeatedly, or this particular environment or this particular kind of overload sensory wise are also appreciated to in particular for Leonard to kind of look at and see that, you know, if we have these issues, then he can look at them and kind of get that information, because most of the times these things only really get reported if they're game breaking in some way, shape or form.
Yeah, and exactly. That would be really helpful, because the thing is that I'm only one human, and, you know, y'all are like many humans. You know, Eco's a popular game, and I don't have the time to play on the server all the time. I try to when there's playtesting, but it is really important to basically give those kind of feedback, and just know that it's helpful. You don't have to say like, oh, there's this sound and now I have to turn off the audio. I mean, the main thing is just to, if you can be a bit more like, you know, quality assurance and view it from that side, just be, if you can, objective about like, it's playing twice as loud as everything else. And that those kind of feedbacks are a little bit more helpful than, you know, because there are some times when, yeah, it's anytime there's one thing like, you know, that goes wrong with the audio, it can destroy the experience. That's fine, but also if we know more of what the details are, then it's just faster for me to know what's going on, like if it's on server only, or, you know, all those kind of things. So yeah, having that kind of feedback would be, it's essential, and it has really helped actually with the developments of the game in certain ways. So yeah, basically it's like it's a community driven game, and it's awesome to be part of this community. And it's, yeah, once again, it's nice to have, you know, Phil being able to join us on the music side of things, because he's been, you know, sort of a quiet partner in a certain way, but it's really essential for us on the audio side to be able to hear from everybody as well. So yeah.
Yeah, no, I think don't think we have a whole lot of other things. There's some technical stuff that probably a lot of these questions have kind of been rehashed, and there's a lot of answers on Discord if people are interested in kind of digging into what's going on technically, as well as the status of the playtest, and the kind of FAQs and what that is going on. We have a playtest that's coming up on, that's currently scheduled for Wednesday. Date is pending because it's not a guaranteed set start, as there is a couple of issues that we are working on fixing that is necessary for the playtest to start. It's been updated from staging, so there's a lot of new changes and further polish to the interaction system, and the tools that may have been working in the previous playtest may be working slightly different. There may be new issues, as we've been going over a lot of and ripping out a lot of the old code to work with the new interaction system for the new tool set, the tool code that Mike is working really, really hard at getting all of those kind of integrated and working. So yeah, I would recommend just follow up on information on the Discord for anything playtest related. As more information kind of gets available, fed just as it comes available, and it's just easier for everyone to keep track on all of those things that are evolving and changing around it. But that's probably my technical outthrow of things that are not linked to the audio stream. So a very big thank you to Phil for participating and being here with us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. So much fun to see how it's getting integrated and
seeing the results.
See more of the process. Yeah. Very cool.
And of course, a big thank you to Leonard for putting up with us over a long period of time, and also staying with us for indefinitely. But thank you sincerely, both of you, for being here and wanting to come on the stream and talk about what you do in revolving eco and the surrounding systems.
Oh, thank you. It's been awesome. I
Yeah, thank
really,
you.
I really adore this game. It's just a great combination of good vibes, good team, good energy, and good information. I think it's a really important game to work on, and it's really, I feel honored to be part of it. So thank you.
Yeah, same here. It's been so great to work on it. So
Yeah. So with that,
thank you both.
I think we'll say good evening, good night, or good morning, depending on where you are in the world. And I will catch you all in the next stream, and we'll bid Leonard and Phil goodbye for now. Who knows? Maybe we can coax them into showing up another time as well. Who knows? Anyway, I will catch you on the next stream, and
Awesome.
take care, everyone.
Okay.
Cheers.
Cool.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.